Once upon a time, in a grand house bordered by whispering woods and rolling green hills, lived a kind and gentle girl named Cinderella. A shadow had fallen over her young life, for her dear mother was gravely ill. Cinderella spent every moment by her mother's bedside, her small hands a constant comfort. As the final twilight approached, her mother gathered her last strength, pulling Cinderella close. "My dearest child," she whispered, her voice as faint as a breeze, "when I am gone, promise me you will always be good and pious. Goodness is a light that no darkness can extinguish. God will protect you, and I shall look down upon you from heaven and be with you always." With those words, she closed her eyes for the last time, leaving Cinderella heartbroken. Every single day, through the sun of summer and the snow of winter, Cinderella would visit her mother's grave by the old hazel tree. She would sit and weep, sharing her sorrows with the birds that nested in its branches, feeling a connection to the mother she had lost. Cinderella's father, a merchant who traveled often for his work, felt his daughter needed a mother's care, and so he decided to remarry. He chose a widow, a woman who came with two daughters of her own, but beneath their fine dresses and polite smiles hid hearts of stone. From that day forward, Cinderella's life became one of hardship. Her beautiful dresses were taken away, replaced with rough gray rags. "Look at the proud princess now," her stepsisters would sneer. They treated her not as a sister, but as a servant. From dawn until dusk, she scrubbed the floors, cooked their meals, and did all the heavy chores, while they lounged on velvet sofas, eating fruits and sweets. Her only warmth came from the cinders of the fireplace, where she would rest exhausted. And so they cruelly nicknamed her Cinderella. One afternoon, the stepmother found a single banana peel on the floor that one of her daughters had carelessly thrown. Her face twisted with rage. "Cinderella," she shrieked, "clean this floor at once, you lazy girl. Can you not do a single thing properly?" "Yes, mother, I am sorry," she whispered, her eyes downcast, as she hurried to clean up their mess. At dinner, she was only allowed to eat the scraps they left behind, and her bed was a simple straw mat in the cold, dusty attic. And so they cruelly nicknamed her Cinderella. In her lonely attic, her only friends were the little mice who scurried in the shadows and the birds who sang outside her window. They felt her sadness and became her silent companions in a house devoid of love. One day, a royal decree echoed through the town. The king was hosting a grand ball, a 3-day festival, so that his son, the prince, could choose a bride from all the maidens in the land. Excitement filled the air like electricity. Cinderella's heart fluttered with a tiny spark of hope. She had always dreamed of seeing the palace. Her stepsisters, however, were ecstatic. "Come, girls, we must prepare," their mother declared. "One of you will marry the prince and make me proud." Cinderella was tasked with helping them. She brushed their hair, mended their gowns, and listened to their endless arguments. "Cinderella, fix my hair," one demanded. "No, help me first. I will be the one to marry the prince," sneered the other. With a hopeful heart, Cinderella gently asked her stepmother, May I come too? I truly wish to see the palace." Her stepmother let out a cruel laugh. "You?" she scoffed. "In those rags? Absolutely not. You would bring shame upon us. How dare you even ask?" As she family departed for the ball in their fine carriage, leaving her alone, Cinderella ran to the garden and wept beneath the hazel tree. Suddenly, a soft, shimmering light appeared, and before her stood a kind-faced woman with a magic wand. It was her fairy godmother. "Do not cry, my child," she said gently. "You shall go to the ball." With a flick of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed a pumpkin into a magnificent golden carriage. The little mice became majestic white horses, and a bird became a proud coachman. Then she touched Cinderella's rags, which dissolved into a breathtaking gown of starlight blue, and on her feet appeared the most delicate pair of glass slippers. "But my family will recognize me," Cinderella worried. "Do not fret," the godmother smiled. "They will not know who you are. But remember this," she warned, her voice becoming serious. "The magic will only last until midnight. You must be home by the final stroke of the clock." Cinderella promised, and with a heart full of joy, she set off for the palace. When she entered the ballroom, a hush fell over the crowd. Everyone turned to gaze at the beautiful, mysterious princess. Even her own stepfamily did not recognize her. The prince, who was politely greeting guests, saw her and was instantly captivated. He approached her, bowed, and asked, "Beautiful lady, may I have the pleasure of this dance?" Cinderella shyly agreed. For the rest of the evening, the prince danced with no one else. He could not take his eyes off her. Cinderella was so lost in the magic of the moment that she almost forgot her godmother's warning. Suddenly, the deep chime of the grand clock began to strike. Midnight! "Oh, I must go now!" she exclaimed, pulling away. As she hurried down the palace steps, one of her glass slippers slipped from her foot. There was no time to retrieve it. She fled into the night just as the prince reached the steps, finding only the single sparkling shoe. The prince was determined. "I will find her," he declared, "even if I have to search the entire country." He and his royal guards went from door to door, having every maiden in the kingdom try on the glass slipper, but it fit no one. Finally, they arrived at Cinderella's house. The stepsisters, eager and cruel, tried to force their large feet into the delicate shoe, but it was no use. "Is there anyone else at home?" the prince asked, his hope fading. "Oh, no, only my 2 daughters," the stepmother lied, having locked Cinderella in the attic. But a guard, hearing a faint sound from above, insisted on checking. He found the locked door, opened it, and discovered Cinderella. When she was brought down, the prince's attendant knelt before her. The glass slipper slid onto her foot perfectly. The prince looked at her, and in her eyes he recognized the girl from the ball. He said, "I have finally found you," his voice full of emotion. He knelt on one knee. "Cinderella, will you marry me?" With tears of joy, Cinderella whispered, "Yes." The prince took her back to the palace, where the king and queen welcomed her with open arms. Cinderella and the prince were married, and her kindness and grace won the hearts of the entire kingdom. And they lived happily ever after. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support by giving it a like and subscribe to Star Snooze Tales for more wonderful fairy tales. Thank you for listening.